what was the feeling for you when you were opening for Metallica?
Oh, it was dreamlike. Absolutely. Let alone see a crowd that big. I'm not saying, I don't think I've seen a stage that big. It was, I think, a milestone for all of us, getting to meet and open for the band that you've grown up listening to.
When did you start performing with Lucky Ali?
Lucky's gig was a funny story. One day, Raghu calls me and tells me that they're looking out for a guitar player and hands the phone to Lucky. And he's like, hey, bro, do you want to come and, pick up my songs and see how it goes. And that's how it started.
Hey guys, welcome to the Art and the Culture Tribe. I hope you guys are doing well. Today we have with us an amazing guitarist who is also an amazing music producer. He was a former guitarist for Inner Sanctum and now he plays along with Lucky Ali. You want to know who it is? Let's check it out. All right, so let's welcome Suraj Gulvady.
Thanks, Dinkar. Nice to be here and nice to see you after eons as well.
Same here. How have you been, bro?
I've been good. Just to summarize what I've been up to, the music as usual, playing on stage, but I've been behind the scenes as well, producing a lot of music.
Amazing.
So, yep.
All right, so let's get into it. So let me just ask you this question that I had. Which was your first band?
The first band I had was in school. I don't know what we were called, but we used to compete into school, and I used to play drums back then.
Oh,
so
really?
that was probably my first tryst with ensemble music, playing with a bunch of musicians.
Okay. So you play the drums first, and how did you get into guitars?
That's a funny story. So very young, my parents tell me I had a small keyboard
Okay.
that I used to play along with, hit the demo button and play along with, and it sings on its own, and then you play along. But in addition to that, they noticed that I had a knack for music. They noticed that I could pick up tunes and try and recreate them. And that way, my musical growth probably started off very young. I've grown up in a very musical family, and when I was in school, I was part of the band, the marching band first, and then they formed a band that played Western music, Western rock music. And I realized that, okay, there was already a keyboard player and there were guitarists, and the music teacher wanted me to, play the instrument that was not occupied, which was the drum kit. And that's how it started for me. I mean, we played a couple of competitions and we realized we really enjoyed playing together. I'm still in touch with my bandmates from then.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
some of them are musicians themselves, but I think that was the first time I was behind the kit.
Okay. And then what made you get into guitar?
The switch to guitar happened much later because then there were too many drummers in school. And then I was always interested in how the guitar sounded and how it was played. And I really was drawn to the way the instrument felt.
Yeah.
A friend of mine who used to play guitars then introduced me to the instrument and taught me those basic chords. I didn't know what they meant, how they came together, but just mimicking what he did, and probably learning the basic G, C, D chord progressions made it easier.
The easiest ones.
Yes,
yeah.
the easiest open chord positions made it easy for me to pick up the songs and pick up the at least get a feel of the instrument.
Were you self-taught?
Mostly, yes.
Amazing.
At least for the guitar and the keyboard, I am self-taught.
Okay.
I'm formally trained in tabla. That's the only instrument that I've learned to
nice.
play. Yes.
Okay. And how did, what was your process of learning the guitar by yourself?
I think back then I had a habit of trying to recreate what I listened to. I did not know how tunings worked. I did not really know how chords were formed. But I sort of figured the mechanics of the guitar out in terms of, okay, so you play a fret play the frets further to the picking hand, the pitch gets higher and lower, and that got easier. And since I already used to play the keyboard, I think that's what made it easier for me to pick up the rest of it in terms of figuring out, okay, so this is how it's played. And then I told you about my friend who taught me the chords, and then I started listening to bands like Guns N' Roses and Metallica and put two and two together. Okay, so this is how it works. And then I fell in love with the sound of the electric guitar. Uh, Learned about how amplifiers work, how processors can be used to change sound and all of that. And that was quite exciting for me as a kid back in school. And yeah, I think that those were early beginnings for me in terms of playing the guitar. And then I think it was just a matter of evolution. The internet was new. I mean, YouTube helped a lot. YouTube lessons, people demonstrating technique, people showing you breaking down guitar solos probably and trying to recreate them. Maybe watch concerts where guitarists are doing all kinds of crazy things on their guitars. It was quite inspiring for me to see.
What was your early music like? What kind of music were you listening to when you got into?
That's funny you ask me this because I've never been boxed into one kind of music. As I mentioned earlier, my family always played great music. So I've grown up listening to the best, mostly Hindustani classical music and film music. In school, I was introduced to Western music. We had the choir and all of that. And then as you start discovering more and more types of music, you try and take from it what you are drawn to. So I think that became an amalgamation of my style. So there was not one type of music that I really enjoyed. I used to listen to a lot of metal. I still do. A lot of orchestral music. I loved listening to old Hindi classics as well. So I think
It's a mix
that
of
shaped.
everything.
Yeah, it's a mix of everything, and it's shaped my style as well.
Correct. Since you were talking about metal, you were a part of this band called Inner Sanctum, right? And I remember this. I think you guys played Strawberry Fields,
Right.
and it was crazy. That show was insane. And I think a friend of mine, he already knew you. His name is Bhaskar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he told me that is Suraj Gulvady. I'm like, yeah, that is crazy, and I'm seeing you going crazy that day. It was a very good show. So how did Inner Sanctum happen, and what was the songwriting process?
So I think around 2011 or 2012 was when Sanctum was looking for a guitar player. I was playing guitars before that. I was playing for another metal band called Dementia, which is Bangalore based. And word got out that they're holding auditions for a guitar player after Rajiv, their ex guitar player, left.
Okay.
And yeah, since we all sort of knew each other from the gig circuit, we met and went through their songs, and they were kind enough to show me and have playthroughs of their songs so that I picked them up. And I made the cut, and the rest is history. Immediately after that, we got to compete for a slot to be opening for Metallica. I think that was held in Counterculture. There was like a small battle of bands with us, Silver Tears, I remember, and a couple more bands. And that was our first win. And that led us to open for Metallica. And you know how that show went. Yeah. And then Slayer and Testament after. So it's been great with Sanctum. Yeah.
What was the feeling for you when you were opening for Metallica?
Oh, it was dreamlike. Absolutely. I've let alone see a crowd that big. I'm not saying I don't think I've seen a stage that big.
Yeah.
You know, it was really, really thrilling experience for me to be on stage, rocking out with my brothers at Sanctum. It was, I think, a milestone for all of us, getting to meet and open for the band that you've grown up listening to. And I was a huge Metallica fan. I still am a huge Metallica fan. And to be able to see what they do in close quarters is great.
Yeah.
You know?
Crazy.
Yeah.
Awesome. You are. Do you teach music? Do you teach guitars?
I used to.
Okay.
I have very few students right now.
Okay.
a handful of them. But there was a point where I did actively teach music. I do teach production now and sound design. But yep,
Okay.
I did teach music for a bit.
Okay. Let's get to understand that you are also a music producer now. So, what kind of music do you produce? Who are the artists that you collaborate with?
Right. Again, the types of artists I work with are very varied, right? Most of them are indie artists, hard rock. Some of them are indie folk artists. Some of them have indie pop. But Utsavija from Bombay is one example. Vani Basin, again from Bombay. I've worked with the band Tarana from Bangalore.
Tarana, yeah.
I'm working with Sandeep, who's a Bangalore artist who's writing grunge in both Hindi and English, which is very exciting for me. I have a small project I've started off called Taj Quest with Jose, which is again focusing on heavier grunge style music. And I hope to put out a lot more music maybe in the coming few months. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. In addition to the sound design for games, etc., that I do.
So, in terms of production, what are the softwares you use? What is your go-to? I mean, yes, there are. Talking to you right now, I get to understand that you do variety of styles,
Yes,
right? So,
yes.
how do you get all these things together in a platform like the DAWs that you use and the samples that you use? So, can we talk something about that?
I've always worked on Ableton for electronic music, but I use Cubase for everything else because it's very handy when it comes to mixing live instruments and, of course, all the features that it has right now. It's very easy for me to track and mix on the fly.
Okay.
Because it's part of my process, right? So I produce and I mix on the fly. I do not spend too much time mixing after.
Got it.
So that's one thing.
Do you have your favorite plugins when you get into mix?
Oh, yes. I love the FabFilter series for the compression and EQing capabilities. I've really started enjoying the Sound Toys suite that I got my hands on last Black Friday. And
Nice.
the UAD plugins are always amazing for your emulations and simulations of our good old compressors. Yeah.
Okay. What is the guitar that you use right now?
My live rig is pretty simple. I use a Chauvel guitar, which is a Guthrie Govan signature, which is a HSH combination, which is a super strat, is what they call it. It's a 24 fret ash body and a maple neck. I'm running the guitar through a Fractal FM3, which is a very handy processor, which we can lug around very easy. Is small bag for it. It does everything I need to right now. My gig with Lucky right now doesn't require me to have too many presets, but it does have a solid number of effects happening. So I think the FM3 takes care of it very easy.
Okay.
So that's my rig right now, and I'm running straight into the house.
Okay. Are you somebody who loves the amps?
I do, and if it was convenient enough for for me to be consistent with the backline and probably have the same amp at every show, I would definitely opt for a tube amp roaring behind me. But since that's not a possibility in all places we play right now, it's better for us to have something much more easy to carry around and something that gives you the consistent sound night after night.
Correct. Since you mentioned Lucky Ali, how did that happen? When did you start performing with Lucky Ali?
Lucky's gig was a funny story. My then bandmates, we used to play a lot of corporate gigs with Bharat, Raghu, and Dinushan, who are my bandmates in Lucky. It's a band right now. They were part of it before I was. And one day, Raghu calls me and tells me that there's an open. I mean, they're looking out for a guitar player, and hands the phone to Lucky. And he's like, "Hey, bro, do you want to come and pick up my songs and see how it goes?" And that's how it started. And we went and played a couple of songs together, and we really liked how it felt. And then we had to sit and rearrange a couple of songs to be optimized for electric guitar as well, because he didn't have an electric guitar player, I mean, for this new lineup
Okay.
before that. And we optimized a couple of songs, and that stuck. That became our new sound. And the boys have been great to play with. So,
Okay.
yeah.
But do you involve yourself in writing process with Lucky Ali?
Sometimes, yes. We do have a couple of sessions where we just sit and ideate songs. He's someone who constantly writing, who's constantly, coming up with new ideas for his next songs. And anytime we sit and play, we have an idea, he's the first one to, pick up on that and say, hey, this could be something. And so, yeah, it is. Whether it develops or not is secondary. But when we are together, we are always noodling, playing something, playing on his synths, playing his Ableton Push, or it's creating music for the fun of it. Good comes out of it most of the time.
Okay. You've been part of his band from?
Late 2018, if I'm not wrong. Yeah. So I played gigs on and off with him. And then I was part of his touring lineup after. So we've been touring together for the past 3 years.
Amazing. Amazing.
Just before and after COVID.
Okay. Yeah, I think COVID pretty much stopped everything at one. Yeah. We were just discussing this with the other guests as well. How difficult it was to get. What did you do when that happened?
Thankfully, I had the studio set up at home, and work kept happening for me, which I'm really grateful for. A lot of game sound design and background scoring for games happened during that time. And yeah, things were strange for all of us, but I think it gave us a way of learning to adapt. It taught us how to adapt to whatever little we had or whatever little we could do at that point of time. And I think that was most important. And having that setup at home really helped. Work didn't stop.
You told me that you also design sounds for games, right? So how did that happen?
Somewhere down the line, I think this was just start of college. I had a friend who had a studio here, and he ran me through the basics of how production happens, what synthesis is, how we can use synthesizers to, mold sounds into what they are. And that I got bitten by that bug, and I started experimenting. And then I got into the ad film market. Ranjan, a friend of mine, put me in touch with the people, a couple of agencies. And the first ad I did was Britannia. It was an ad for thick shake called Wink and Cow. So after that, I think I did pretty well with that. And the ad market also, was really attractive to me, because every challenge that every ad that I got to score for was a challenge to me. It was never the same, and that was quite interesting for me to take up. And that's what led me further, led me to the game field as well. Again, word of mouth, friends recommending friends.
Nice.
And as a freelancer, I got a couple of things to do, I think for Gameberry Labs, if I'm not wrong. That was the first one. And then, started developing libraries for them to use. Not sure what games they were used in, but we used to get a list of things to create and hand them as packages.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool. Since you were talking about ads, something that I would like to know, because creating jingles for ads it's not that easy, because I think in that world, it has to be attractive, it has to sound good, it has to appeal. I would not say pressure, but there would have been a lot of things that's going in your head.
Yeah.
How did you handle that? And I'm glad that you kept getting more ads, and I'm very glad that
Thank you.
happened. But
Yeah.
how did you handle those things?
It was very new to me, I have to confess. Coming from the music background, where you did not have such tight deadlines, you were able to, think of ideas, discard some, have some, but you did not have that liberty when you start making ads. So the first thing that I sort of felt the pinch with was timelines, right?
Yeah.
And also with the composition, you have probably 30 seconds to a minute to tell a whole story. You do not have your own sweet time to have a long intro that leads into the
Yeah.
main body of the song. So I think that was a challenge that I started enjoying after a bit. Though the techniques of composition and production are the same musically. Being a multi instrumentalist helped as well because I could play anything with strings mostly and have control over rhythm because I'd learned tabla.
Yes.
And I think that helped me streamline my workflow. And as I started working on it, and I started understanding that, okay, these are my strengths and these are my weaknesses, I started playing to those. And it came naturally to me, I would say. It was not too much of a struggle after I, got into the pace of things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You performed in schools. I get that. Now, when you've come out of school and you're a professional guitarist, what was the first experience when you saw a good number of crowds? How was that?
I cannot tell you when the shift from amateur to professional happened, or from school to college, or whatever that was. But I can tell you that it was gradual. I mean, I had severe nerves in the beginning, like anyone else. But then you learn to feed off it. You learn to use that positively, right? And you learn to use that to an advantage where you're starting to enjoy it. And I think that shift happened to me after college with dementia. And of course, when I joined Sanctum, because we were playing bigger and bigger festivals and to larger crowds and audiences, not only in India, all over the world, because we toured twice as well. And I think that opens up a whole new part of your musician thinking, where you're no longer afraid, you're no longer nervous, or you're no longer considering yourself something that's being subjected to those many eyes. Yeah.
Okay. You are, doing sessions, you're producing artists, you are touring, you're doing so many things. How do you manage your time?
I think that's a question I ask myself, but I think it all boils down to managing your week in a way that you're able to have maybe 2 days for production work, 2 days for teaching, and the rest for whatever else takes up most of your time. I sometimes have rehearsals as well that are planned out well in advance. So it's just a matter about me scheduling. There is no other way to do this.
Okay. When it comes to performing live, the uh, you know especially when it comes to Lucky Ali, I think few things do change from what the original is.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So sometimes in a live show, where you're playing a solo, have you done something that was probably not planned and it happened? And
All the time. I mean, Lucky is kind enough to give us the avenue to play to the song and play to how you're feeling at that point of time, right? Though the structures are fixed, we're free to improvise, all of us, and we quite enjoy it a lot, And there have been times where the band reads off the energy and okay, play two more cycles of the solo, and we have a talk back, and Raghu's always cueing us, or one of us is always cueing us, and so that way we have the freedom musically in terms of how long we play, what we play, what we play to.
if I may ask you, what is your schedule for December?
Right. We do have a couple of shows lined up, both private and public, with Lucky, and I'm playing a couple of sessions as well with a few artists. I have studio sessions lined up with artists that I'm recording, again from Bombay, a band from Ahmedabad called Shunya. I have a few mix projects that I'm doing for Tarana in Bangalore. I have a couple of ads that I'm taking up. It's Christmas season, and you know how the ads are. So yeah, that's going to take up a lot of my time. Well, I mean, the work's already started, so I hope I don't feel the crunch towards the end of the year.
Okay. Do you get overwhelmed when a lot of projects come in?
Of course, yes.
How do you handle that situation?
I think when you work in the advertising field, it's not only about the project. There's a lot of interaction with the clients that happens too, which
Yeah.
is, exhausting if you do not really, if you're not used to it, or if you cannot really match their vision in terms of what's being expected out of you. So I think over the years I've found a rhythm in a way that, yeah, I have a questionnaire of sorts in the beginning of the project
Okay.
itself, what I present to them and to understand what they want, right? Because unlike music, most of the clients aren't technically, sound in terms of, okay, this is exactly what I want, but it's very important that as an ad film producer or a media composer, you understand their vision, be it with references, be it with how they explain things. It could also be based on their past work. Things like that definitely give you an insight on what they're thinking and what they expect out of you. So that is what's important. And yeah, things do get overwhelming at times when when you've taken up multiple, projects without a plan in place. So I am guilty of, taking up more than I can chew previously, but right now I'm careful to know that, okay, I have this much time and this much headroom to be able to, spend time with a certain project. So it's become a lot easier for me to handle things.
Wonderful. And how does Suraj Gulwadi chill?
Man, I like to go on runs. I like to swim sometimes. I like riding my bike around town. you know, that's that. I like to watch documentaries. That's something new. And as of now, I think I have a lot of movie catching up to do. So I think that's the plan for the next couple of holidays that I'm getting.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I love to travel as well. Yeah.
Okay. Since we were talking about ads, I'm sure not all clients are good with music. When I say good with music, is that they understand.
Yep.
So, how difficult is it for you to communicate? Have you got any vague suggestions that you're like it didn't make sense to you, but at the end you somehow delivered whatever they asked?
Yeah, I mean, most of the time when a client comes to you with a vision in mind, it might seem vague to you because you really cannot connect to what he's saying in terms of his idea. But the more you discuss with him, the more you try and understand where he's coming from, it, I think it gets a lot more clear. With time, if it's someone you worked with before, it becomes easier for you to understand, okay, what he's expecting. He might have a particular style he's drawn to. He might have a particular idea in mind that he wants to have shine in his film or whatever he's producing. But other than that, it's pretty simple. Just have your questions ready for him, and a set of effective questions
Correct.
or concerns that you might have based on what is required is enough to sort it out 90% of the time.
That's so nicely put because because you told me that it might be vague for you but not for him.
Yeah.
And you somehow have to connect and try and understand what he's trying to say rather than making a judgment
Yeah,
of like he
absolutely.
does not know that. And I think this information is very important for people who are getting into ads and have I think yes, it comes with experience, but also have the idea to explain yourself to the client and have the client also ask you more
Correct.
questions.
Correct. When it comes to any kind of production, I think this should be the case. The earlier you have your concerns addressed, the easier it is for you to build, right? And a solid foundation always helps. But especially with the ad agencies that you work with the directors you work with, it's such that they have a pretty clear image of what they want. They might just not know how to articulate it. But
The
90%
vision
of
is
the time,
clear.
the vision's clear. The vision's always there. It's just a matter of you, vibrating on the same wavelength. And it's not that they will not settle for anything better or close. It's just that
You hit the mark.
yeah, you better hit the mark.
Amazing. This is something important when it comes to getting paid on time. When it comes to corporate,
Yeah.
how Were there delays? And if there were delays, how would you handle it?
Thankfully for me, there haven't been too many delays because I have my contract sorted even before I start the project. The minute I'm approached, that's standard practice from my side. I have a document that I send them, clearly describing my roles, clearly describing timelines as discussed. And I think that makes it easier for both parties to keep track on what's going on, to follow up payments for me, maybe. And most of the time, the clients have been, on time with payments.
Amazing.
Of course, there are delays, but a mail or two following up usually clears things up for me.
Awesome. So, Suraj, you have performed both in India as well as outside. Okay. What was your experience? And what I would like to know is in terms of management of the shows, in terms of professionalism, in terms of gears that were available,
Right.
and the promises that were made that, because you guys have a rider, tech rider,
Yes.
where all the requirements met or not, and how would you deal with that, both here and outside?
If I have to compare, I think a solid tech rider is very important. And these days in India versus abroad, the difference is very less in terms of uh, the tech itself, everything that's taken care of in terms of your stage, be it tech or backstage, right? So the one thing that I think is different is how meticulous people abroad are in terms of the timing, probably quality of tech. One, of course, this is now there is a big improvement in what we have, what the vendors here have. Um, but I would say just the way they work like clockwork in terms of avoiding delays. If something's said to happen at a certain time, you can count on it. You can, just make sure that they just make sure that it's in place even before anything else. So I think that's the main difference in terms of the management and how things work. Otherwise, it's pretty similar the way things are handled here versus there. Now, I mean, of course, when we first started off, we all know how it was. But right now, I think we are catching up, which is a good thing, right? Because we are seeing a lot of international artists coming down. I think we are matching up to what it is abroad as well. But in terms of the audiences, we're very different. The way people probably enjoy music here versus there is probably different. Other than that, I cannot, pinpoint too many differences, right? Of course, a lot better venues there right now compared to here in Bangalore, at least. I'm talking about Europe and the UK, Australia, which is where we toured last year. And it's been pretty good to see how these things work. Dubai, especially with their tech, is crazy. Yeah, and the way they handle a small audience versus a big audience with the same amount of efficiency is crazy. It's inspiring to watch.
Okay. When you spoke about audiences that is here in India and abroad are different. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, I feel that they listen outside.
They listen, yeah. They get the details, right? I don't know why it is that we feel the lack of it here, or I personally feel like we do not pay too much attention to it. But people abroad, I think, are more intent listeners. They have, I would say, a better grasp of what's happening. They're more musically aware, I would say, which I think is very much necessary right now as well. Creating musical awareness
Yes.
more than anything else. And they know exactly what's happening. They come and talk to you about the intricacies in your solos, or that a certain technique you used, or a certain part you played in some song. And that's heartwarming because I don't think I've had too many situations where people here have come and spoken to me about, of course, they have come and spoken to me about a great performance and how amazing it sounded, and all of that. But when it comes to the awareness, musicality, of a listener, the musical awareness of a listener, I think they take the upper hand.
Okay.
And I wonder why it is.
Yeah, I get a feeling that because I think there's music already in their schools. I
Probably.
think from the early age,
Yes.
people they're made to listen to music, and that's why that interest is there. And recently we had this discussion, and we felt that maybe right now in India there's too much music in terms of that is that always is in movies. There's a lot of, and I think
True.
people kind of incline to that more.
There's a whole universe of music beyond
Yes.
the commercial
Yes.
music that you hear on
Yes.
radio these days.
Correct.
And if you are not aware of this, we can't really blame them.
Yeah.
Right? So I think what you're doing as well is a great initiative, because this is the only way people might even be aware of certain things, a certain musical culture that exists in their own city, without which it's very difficult for you to, take an upper hand over the commercial side of things.
Correct.
Commercial music, movie music, that's so heavily advertised, right?
I do believe that people should definitely put an effort just to try out something new in terms of
True,
listening. Just
true.
give it a try.
Just
see whether you like
anything
it.
art, not
Yeah.
just music, I would say.
Exactly.
Yeah, and this should be stressed upon. I think schools now are doing it, but not enough. It's never enough. Stressing on art, be it fine art, music, or anything that is right-brained, whatever. So I think, have to understand that it's so important. Art supports culture, and it's very simple to do, to introduce somebody to something new. It might stick with him for life. It might change
Yeah.
his life,
Yeah.
right? Like it has with us. Music,
course.
I don't think I can pinpoint a single moment, but it has progressively shaped who we are. And I think a lot of them are missing out on that and get caught in the rat race.
Correct. Yeah, and I think art kind of finds more in you, about yourself.
Yeah.
Talking about that, have you found out about playing music?
Oh, most definitely. I wouldn't be able to tell you, okay, this is what I found, but I can clearly tell you, maybe I have developed empathy, learned patience, trying out a couple of things has helped me understand how to slow things down, So these things are very much a part of what music does. I do not for a minute doubt the healing capabilities of it as well.
Yeah.
So it's therapeutic.
Correct.
Just listening to music after a long day, listening to music while you work out, right? It's brilliant what things do. And as I read and learn more about the effects different frequencies have on the human body, it just makes me think, man, there's so much to it.
Yeah.
Right? And we're only at the tip of the iceberg, and so much more for us to explore.
Very true.
Yeah.
Talking about energy levels with Inner Sanctum and Lucky Ali right now, they're two different energy levels.
Absolutely,
right?
yes.
So can you tell me how different was it in Inner Sanctum and now in Lucky Ali?
Absolutely. Sanctum being a metal band, one of the most intense in the country, kept up to its name when it came to its performances. We were all, super energetic, running around, hardcore riffage happening in terms of the guitars, heavy drums, solid riffs playing, and Gaurav's vocals, of course.
Yeah.
And Shashank's filling in for him now, but again, the same energy. I think that is something I really enjoy doing with Sanctum. The sheer energy, the sheer, what would you call it? The sheer,
The adrenaline that goes through.
yeah, the rush it gave you playing metal music. The rush that metal music gave you, right? So that is something brilliant. And with Lucky, it's a lot more relaxed. It's a lot more musical. it's a variety of styles of music that we go through within the set. We have ballads, we have reggae, we have, groovy, funky stuff happening.
Yeah.
And of course, we have some nice melodic numbers, which are fusion and, infused with Hindustani classical music. We have a lot of that stuff happening, including a little bit of hard rock on some of his songs right now. We do have slightly heavier songs that he does every now and then, not always, but that's fun to play, in contrast to what I did with Sanctum.
Okay. Talking about Lucky Ali, I think, I'm a huge fan because I used to follow from the album Suno. And when the album Ux came
Ux,
in
yeah.
and I heard Tere Mere Saath, I was so surprised
Yeah.
with the kind of drums that came in,
Instrumentation, yes,
right?
yeah.
I was so surprised, but it's still that even my son loves that song right now.
Nice.
Yeah. So, okay, talking about Lucky Ali, what is the touring calendar like, and how is it like? Every day there's a show, or is it there are breaks and things like that?
I think past couple of years, it's been alternate years of touring for us in terms of how we do it. But no, it's never continuous. There have been times where we have had back-to-back shows, but it's not always so. We at least have 2 or 3 days between shows. That's usually because of the travel and settle-in time. We usually have a rehearsal before every show, and then hit stage. We make changes to the set list every now and then so that, it's fresh, not only for the audience, for us to play as well. But yeah, it's never back to back. It has always been a relaxed pace, easy for us to handle, not too hectic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Coming to your routine, how much time do you give now for your daily jamming with your guitar?
Not as much as I should, but I would love to. I think most time now is spent in the studio itself. I have a guitar there at all times. Any little window I find, I play. I pick up something new, try and play something from memory, probably something that I've played before, something that I come up with. Not only with my guitar, I also have to keep my production skills up to the mark. So a lot of time goes into experimenting with those things as well. Ableton especially, which is a vast sea of, things you can do with the Max for Live devices. Create your own patterns and loops and sounds, and it's endless. So I think between the two, and since I have easy access to both of them, I do try and squeeze in at least, say, half an hour to an hour a day of either of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
On a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
Awesome.
Yes.
Okay. So what is your routine like? What time do you wake up? Because since you're doing so many things, I'm sure you have set up a time to sleep and things like that. And then when you're on tour, sometimes there are late night shows
yeah.
and early morning flights. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Last year was all about touring for us, and a lot of helter skelter with the schedules. But the main thing was for us to make sure that we get those solid 7-8 hours of sleep, no matter what time it was. But this year, since I've been working in the studio mostly, I've sort of regularized my routine. I have a little bit of work usually, which I save for late at night. So I work up until 2 usually, and then hit the sack. I'm up around 9 and start working around 11:30 or 12.
all right, Suraj. So what we're gonna do is I'll ask you a few questions.
Right.
It's, so you can answer. It's not exactly rapid fire. Not to get confused on that. So okay. So okay. Here goes the first question. A band that you look forward to perform with.
That's a tough one. But I think Gojira would be one.
Okay.
Yeah, because I've been really enjoying their music.
The
again.
music. Yeah. They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're very good.
Amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. True. A show that kind of changed your life. It might be you performing or you watching a band live.
I think it was watching Testament for me was a very, very fun experience because just having a watch at how people were taking in their music in terms of the impact it had versus the performance itself, which is brilliant, right? Alex Kolnick on guitar, Chuck Billy on vocals. It was great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Testament, I think it was NH7 2014, if I'm not wrong, or 15. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Will we listen a guitar solo on the acoustic guitar?
Will you listen to
I mean, will you be playing an acoustic solo?
will I be? Yes. I have a couple of songs that I'm producing which has acoustic guitar solos for me. Of course, yes, there are a couple of acoustic guitar solos you will hear.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay. Your favorite guitarist?
Right now, I have a few. I think Mike Stern would top that list for me, who's a fusion jazz guitar player.
Okay.
Mike Stern would be my favorite right now.
Okay. How many guitars does Suraj Gulvady own?
Tough question to ask a guitar player. I think it has been the herd has been shrunk down to about 4 now.
Okay.
Yeah, and 2 acoustic guitars. So 4 electrics and 2 acoustics, 6 guitars. Yeah.
Nice. Which one is your favorite guitar and why?
The favorite would be the shovel. My favorite would be the shovel, which I play on stage with Lucky most of the time. Because it's a workhorse that does everything. I mean, I think it's the pickup combination that allows you to make it sound more stratty, more telly-like, or just all humbucker mode, screaming humbucker mode. I think that's been a lifesaver for me on pretty much every gig because I'm able to travel with one guitar that does it all.
Okay. Great. Okay. So what's next with Suraj?
I do plan on, producing more for all the artists that I'm working with and the newer ones that are approaching me. I have a couple of songs that I want to put out from my side as well, of my own, that are in the works, but I want to take my time with them. I'm in no hurry to, just put them out.
Okay. Is it instrumental or?
It's a mix. It's a collaborative effort from my side in terms of the music. There are, I think, about 2 or 3 instrumentals and maybe 2 more where I have featured other artists.
Okay, looking forward to it, man.
Likewise, man.
All right. So, Suraj, thank you so much for being on this show. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me.
We're so happy to have you. You have no idea. And yeah, I wish you the best and we'll connect again. And probably when your EP is launched.
Yes,
and we'll
yes.
talk about it again. Yeah.
Yes, Dinkar.
So
thank you so much for having me and best of luck to you as well.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes. And that was the video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video. I believe it was very insightful, understanding how an artist manages his time playing different roles. So you know what to do. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, and press the bell icon. We will see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.